Hey everyone, this is JP Moses, the director of Awesome, and I have here with me our faculty and friend, Cody Sperber, the clever investor. Hello, Cody.
What's going on, JP?
I'll tell you what's going on. I have asked you to give us a crash course on one of your signature deal models, the reverse short sale. Now, for those of you who don't know, you should read Cody's bio. He is a man of many talents. He has successfully closed all types of real estate investing transactions. We're talking wholesale short sales, multi-unit, subject to lease options. But one of the coolest things, and one of the things that if you've never heard of it before, you've never taken the time to wrap your mind around this, that he does, it's really going to excite you. Reverse short sales. Sounds super fancy, but it's really pretty darn simple. But it's when you first told me about it, I was just kind of like, why the heck has nobody thought of this before? So why don't we just start from the 10,000 foot view so we can help anyone who is here with us kind of get the big picture of what this is. What the heck is a reverse short sale?
Yeah, well, probably in a nutshell, basically it's a concept of buying a property that at one point was a pending short sale. And that short sale failed for one reason or another. And the reverse short sale is a concept of buying the property when that short sale fails and goes to the foreclosure auction, buying it down at the foreclosure auction, and turn around and selling it back to the same person that was trying to buy it when they were trying to buy it as a short sale. And so that's like the concept in a quick sentence or two, but it was actually born out of frustration. And I was buying a lot of properties down at the foreclosure auctions. And on the other hand, I was negotiating a lot of short sales to be able to buy those short sales as an investor. And what I was finding is the auction business was getting tougher because of competition, and the short sale business was getting tougher because of laws. And so I started looking at the next market segment up, which was high-end homes. And I was trying to buy a lot of high-end property at the time. And I had one of my short sales that happened to be a high-end short sale fail and go to auction. And I started thinking, you know what? I bet if I just went down to the auction and bought this thing, I can almost reverse engineer it, put it back together, and sell it to the same person that was trying to buy it as a short sale, and still make the realtors happy in the transaction, make sure that I was able to make good money, make sure that the buyer who's been sitting around, in a situation where they could have been potentially waiting for months and months and months to buy it as a short sale, only to have the bank tell them no at the 11th hour, get them the property that they've been wanting. And what I realized is with the high-end properties is those buyers, they're vested in that particular property for whatever reason. They've dreamed of moving into that property for a long time now. The wife or the husband has been super focused on just doing whatever it takes to make it work. And then when it fails, they're just crushed. They're depressed. And now they got to go start the process all over again. And so when I created the reverse short sale strategy, it was really to solve and create a win-win situation for every single party that's involved in the transaction. And after I did a couple of them of my own failed short sales and turned around and reverse engineer them and held them back together after I bought them at auction, I started thinking to myself, I bet I can go and find other people who have short sales that fail and do that same, almost like a service, offer this service for them to put the deal, go down and buy the deals and put it all back together and get everybody paid in the equation. And so that, in a nutshell, is how the reverse short sale was born. Now, obviously, there's some nuts and bolts that come along with it, but that is what it is in a nutshell.
Okay. First question that comes to my mind that other people are probably thinking is, can anybody do this? Is this something that is ideally suited for a certain type of investor or someone with a certain skill set or certain assets available to them? Or is it something that really, anybody with no cash and no credit can do? And I know that even saying those words, it sounds a little sales hypey, and I hope it doesn't. Yeah. I hope you know. I'm just really asking. Some people are thinking that. So how would you answer that question?
And that's a great question, because all of the reverse short sales that I did in the beginning, I did it with none of my own money. So yes, it's absolutely possible to pull this together. And, when I teach the reverse short sale, I show all the steps, right? It's like a system. I show every single step on how to set the transaction up, how to get the funding. I have scripts and email scripts and phone scripts and all this stuff. So, yes, there is a system that's built around this. I'm giving you like the 30-second nutshell version of it. But my first couple deals I did with none of my own money, and the concept worked fairly simply. It was no different than doing a wholesale transaction. I'm going to end up using some parties one of the other members of this transaction. I'm going to use their money. So the back end buyer is trying to buy this property, and they're vested emotionally in that particular property. And when the short sale fails, they're crushed. I said that before, but they're willing to do whatever it takes to get that deal. And now they only have one choice, and that's wait for it to come through the REO market and then start all over and compete with all the other new buyers, and who knows at what price. And so what I was doing is showing up and saying, hey, listen, if you really want to buy this property, you just been told that the short sale has now been declined. I'm going to go down to the foreclosure auction. I'm going to buy this property. I'm going to sell it to you for the exact same price that you were trying to buy it for as a short sale. Doesn't that sound wonderful? And they'd say, yeah, that sounds great. And I'd say, and Mr. Real Estate Agent, I'm going to pay you the full commission for just hanging in there and making sure your clients are happy and just doing your job. And the real estate agent would say, that's wonderful. And then I would say, but I need some commitment because it's a lot of money for me to put on the line to go down to the foreclosure auction, which is the cash business, and buy this foreclosure or this property, unless I know that you're 1,000% committed to doing this deal with me. Are you committed? Yeah, I'm committed. Okay, great. Well, since it's a high-end property and it's considered a jumbo loan, you were going to put how much down? Well, in most jumbo loan cases, they're going to put at least 20% down. And I'd say, okay, well, that same 20%, I want you to put up as earnest deposit. Are you willing to do that? And 99% of the time, they say, yeah, I'm willing to do that if that'll get us the deal. And I say, look, your money's never at risk. I never touch your money unless I win the foreclosure auction and I'm able to sell it to you at the exact same price that you were trying to buy it as a pending short sale. So if your money's never at risk and the only way where your money will ever go in as earnest deposit is if I win the foreclosure bid or the auction bid and I'm able to sell it to you at the same price that you were trying to buy it, isn't that a fair deal? And they'd say yes, and I'd say great. So then what I would do is I would get them through our creative paperwork and a certain opening up of escrow a certain way. I would get them to commit their 20%. Then I would turn around and get them to pre-release that 20% to me, and I would go out and get a loan from a guy that I knew that was giving private money loans, and he lent me the rest of the money that I needed to buy the property, and I sold it to them within 30 days. And so that's the kind of the no money down concept. And then once I started going out and doing it for properties that weren't my short sales, but finding other properties on the MLS that were pending short sales, what I started doing is just dripping the real estate agent saying, hey, can you call me if your deal ever falls apart and allow me to be, the guy that comes in and saves the deal at the end of the day and pays your commission and gets the property for your client? And all of a sudden I started getting referrals coming in, and then I just kept that same MO, using their non-refundable earnest to go out there and bridge it with a loan and putting the deal together and selling it to them.
The only person who is not coming out a winner in this situation is the original owner of the property who got foreclosed on. There's nothing you can do about that. I mean, they were going to get foreclosed on anyway. So it's not like you're causing that, but it's beautiful because you're really jumping in at the last minute from their perspective at the 11th hour. You're the superhero saying, hey, I'm sorry this didn't work out with the seller, but I got a way that we can make this work for everybody else. Everybody else comes out winning, getting what they want, and here's how it works. I absolutely love this model. Now, just give me in a quick synopsis, how many of these things do you think that you've done? I know that you did them for a while once you discovered this, and then you actually started teaching and coaching some other people who wanted to adopt this model into their businesses in various markets. But from your own business, if you were to guess, how many reverse short sales have you taken down?
Yeah, I focus heavily on the high-end stuff. So I've done about 24 of them now. And the great thing about the reverse short sale is that they have huge paydays attached to them. Mm-hmm. So I kind of look at it like this. I could spend my time doing a $5,000 wholesale flip, or I could spend the same amount of time doing a $90,000 reverse short sale. It's the same amount of time. It's all using my brain to structure deals. And what it really comes down to is one principle in real estate, and that's called the arbitrage principle. And that's basically inserting yourself, using your knowledge, in between a transaction where a motivated seller wants to sell something and a motivated buyer wants to buy something, right? And I'm arbitraging their emotional situations to make money. And that's it. And that's why, the reason I've done dozens and dozens of deals in every single type of investing niche and strategy is because they are always moving my cheese. And not every lead fits into this perfect packaged box that sits over in this one corner of my investing business. It's always changing and evolving, and I'm always just looking at deals trying to figure out what's the best way I can make the most amount of money and work the least amount that I can.
I can tell you this is a tool in your toolbox that is extremely valuable when the right circumstances are there, or even when you choose to create the right circumstances for it. Let's do this. Let's wrap up the crash course with this. You've done a beautiful job of explaining the concept and helping us understand what it is, how and why it works, and why everyone wins and comes out smelling good on the other side of it. And you make a lot of money in the process. You mentioned that I was going to ask you what types of properties you focus on. You focus on higher end properties. We won't go into all the details of why, but basically there's bigger paychecks, and you have buyers who are more emotionally invested into the deal and who are much more likely to play ball with you because there's fewer options for them.
And they're savvier buyers.
And they're savvier, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's just finish it this way. For those who need things sequentially, this may touch on many things that you've kind of mentioned within the conversation, but give us a synopsis of a step 1 through step 10, let's say, or however many there are, of your textbook reverse short sale deal, just to help those people who think that way capture the concept sequentially.
Step 1, I would search your local MLS for pending short sales. Step 2, I would contact the listing agents and let them know that you exist and that you have a solution if that property goes to the foreclosure auction. Step 3, send them some emails and reminders and put a reminder on your calendar to let you know when that auction date is approaching to reach back out to that agent just to follow up in case they don't reach out to you or they've lost your information. Okay? If there is motivation there and the short sale gets declined, probably the next step would be to have the listing agent put you in touch with the buyer's agent and explain what you do to the buyer's agent, and then have the buyer's agent put you in touch with the potential buyers to explain what you do. All right? In the meantime, obviously, you've got to understand what your local auction process is in your target areas. But once you sit down with the buyers, your MO or your description of what you do is pretty standard or pretty simple. That you're going to go down and buy these properties down at the auction, and you're going to need to put up some sort of commitment to ensure that they're not going to back out of the deal, because once you buy at auction, there's no unwinding that. Get them to commit. Then basically you take all the paperwork and all of the addendums that we have, and I really haven't talked about this yet, but you'd have to get them to sign a bunch of addendums and extra paperwork to make sure that everything's fully disclosed. Get them to pre-sign the paperwork the day before the auction. Then you would show up down at the foreclosure auction, bid on the property, win the bid, use either my internal funding source, which when we work with students and they, let's say, bird dog a deal for themselves and they want to partner with us, we'll put up the funds so they don't have to figure out the funding piece and go down to the auction and use our funds, or I show them how to actually get the funds. So the next thing would be funding the property down the foreclosure auction and then sitting back and making sure that the end buyer gets their loan so they can cash you out and you can get paid.
Then you go to the bank and deposit your paycheck.
That's right. Last step.
All right. Well, the purpose of this crash course, in my mind, was to really help our students wrap their mind around this concept and understand what it is and whether or not it's something that may be a good fit for them. I'm going to go ahead and say, if this is something that excites you, if it resonates with you, if it's a tool that you want to add to your tool belt, then you should look more into Cody. You can find his website in the profile, in his profile information here on the website. He's got some specific training that he's put out that's very reasonably priced on just this tactic alone. And I've gone through it myself. It's very, very good. And it really it's not super long, but it really is very, it takes this concept and leaves no stone unturned if it's something that you really want to learn how to do. So check that out. Thank you for the crash course, my friend.
No problemo.